Alright, time for the first non-tutorial big boss fight. Let's get ready to take on this colossus. Well, that was a bit anticlimactic. It's Rell, and let's dive into the First Descendant, NEXON's third-person MMO futuristic shooter-looter. Quick note from future Rell, my first 4 hours of footage corrupted, so I'm gonna have to retool the script quite a bit, and much of the footage won't match as well as I normally do. The game deserves some discussion, so we'll make do. The opening cutscene is really pretty and had a nice voiceover. Humanity was pushed to the brink by invaders. First the Vulgus, followed up by the colossi. We continued to resist and eventually found hope in the Descendants. Our first job is to protect one of them, named Bunny, on a mission to retrieve the Ironheart. We pick from 3 characters with predefined personalities and movesets. I normally like to be able to customize, but if we integrate these personalities into the story, that'll be a big win. The falling platforms are a great way for the game to split you up from Bunny to allow for a tutorial where Bunny doesn't have to just sit around. The tutorial is quick, but generally gets the point across. I absolutely love the set pieces, though I would prefer to be in control of the character when we walk in. But the art is gorgeous. Our character is supposed to guard Bunny while she collects the Ironheart. But we don't do such a good job. We're drawn towards it and get transported to another worldly realm. Absolutely fantastic atmosphere. I love the integrated tutorial for the grappling hook. And man, is it fun to use. One of the highlights of the game, honestly. And here's another cutscene that would have been really fun if we were playing it. We encounter the big bad, and he absolutely wrecks us, blocking bullets with his hands, stealing the Ironheart, and hurling us into walls. Then, just to assert dominance, he crushes the Ironheart. The world begins to collapse in on itself as we grapple away with Bunny to relative safety. Very nice setup for a main villain. Now we face our first colossus, a Gravewalker. We get a video tutorial on grappling onto it and destroying pieces. Seems like it's going to be a really cool fight. Or I could just kill it in a few seconds. That works too. We extract back to Albion, the Descendants' base of operations and the game's hub. Now, you may have noticed there was actually matching footage for that. I did some looking, and it seems like I'm able to fully reset the game. And as unfortunate as it is, I want y'all to have some good footage to watch. So I did that, at least for the initial tutorial. I'm going to talk more generally about the rest of the time playing, what I liked, didn't like, etc. And I'll try and pull together some footage for it too. I generally liked the hub. There are a lot of characters to interact with, and most of the systems are available right away. Though the game tutorializes them slowly as you complete the main quest. It allows for you to decide when to delve into them. I like it. The NPCs all have generic greeting quotes, and their text box is just a description of them. When you have something to actually talk about, it will center them on the screen and then have them talk to you. I was pretty disappointed your character doesn't talk during the game, especially after they have a voice during character selection. The game doesn't seem to integrate your choice of character into the story at all. You can unlock more Descendants. Unlocking Bunny is how you are introduced to the system. She has a pretty nice story quest to flesh out her character, where she is pretty well voiced. It almost entirely consists of cutscenes. The early story revolves around a mythical figure that speaks to the Descendants, called the Guide. Your commander, a Descendant for 40 years, distrusts her, but works with her. It provides a nice feeling of tension. There's a little part of me that kinda hopes one of these two betrays us at a later point. I'm pretty sad you can't use your mobility skills around the hub, but I love that the game is self-aware enough to acknowledge it on one of the tip screens. There are a bunch of different kinds of missions to complete, but I think the guide sums it up pretty well. I'll, the guide, will collect the data. Please focus on the battle. Despite different objectives, every quest just boils down to shoot all the enemies and maybe stand in a circle, or something like that. The combat is pretty fun. There's a huge variety of weapon types, and you are rewarded for bringing 3 guns that use different kinds of ammunition. I love how the limited ammunition pushes you to use different styles of combat. Having enemies drop health, ammo, and mana packets encourages you to be aggressive, and to weave abilities into your gameplay. Really great. The difficulty can be great. Can be. So, at one point you get an alert that a colossus is on its way towards Albion, and you need to intercept it. It's another Gravewalker, but this time it wasn't heavily damaged, so it's going to be a really tough fight. However, Sometimes when you join a multiplayer game, this happens. Now, to the game's credit, you can join most missions private, and this fight is actually really well balanced for a solo. My ammunition was just enough to beat it. Dodging attacks felt great. One complaint I had is that almost all the objectives are a waiting game. Many of them can't be completed until all the enemies are dead, but since they spawn in waves, you just have to wait them out. I love the enemy variety, particularly the shield guys. In solos, they force you to reposition to get a shot on them, encouraging vertical play, just making the grappling hook even more fun. And man, movement is a blast. You have such good mobility, especially if you're playing Bunny. Man, is her sprint fun. The game is very guilty of currency/material overload. I'm sure all of it has some use, but man, is it overwhelming when you start out. I honestly just ignored most of it until the quest required it. The game did start slowly teaching me about some of the kinds, so hopefully it will eventually explain them all. If you've played far into the game, how is it at explaining all the materials/currencies? The shop. When I play games like this, I generally try to avoid microtransaction shops. And to the game's credit, at least for a while, it wasn't heavily pushed. That being said, I did take a quick look at it, and man, does it look bad. I wouldn't play this one if you're prone to impulse purchases. During a number of the missions, I noticed items starting to have lower and lower drop rates. I get the feeling this is going to become pretty grindy later on. Again, for you experienced players, am I guessing right that late game things have really low drop chances? Alright, let's finish up with jumping through a few minor things. I really loved the memory cores around the maps. Cute little unrelated stories. I also loved that weapon drops are actually relevant. I used more different weapons in this game than I do in most. Parts of the story are relayed over radio, during fights. Very hard to pay attention to. I like that most missions can be run again. I appreciate that after a mission, when Command praised only Bunny, she was clear with them that it was a team effort. I was looking through the controls and noticed rescue teammate is bound to X. You know what else is bound to X? Abandon. No gameplay issue, I just found it kind of funny. While trying to rebind something, I gained level somehow. That's kinda odd, but okay. The game's preparing loaders can take... Preparing loaders? Loaders? The game's preparing shaders can take quite a bit of time to load. I love the lost and found. If you don't have enough time to pick something up, you can temporarily find it in the hub. Alright, to sum up. The story is fine, but it doesn't include your character enough and gets disrupted by occurring during combat. That combat is fantastic, and the difficulty, particularly in solos, is very engaging. Beware the shop. It looks brutal. So is it worth playing? If you're in the mood for some engaging shooter-looter combat, it's got enough going for it to have some fun. Mostly post-editing Rell. Man, I wasn't sure I was going to finish this one. With having to re-record so much of it, plus the game constantly crashing on trying to load into Albion when I was trying to re-record, I did not think I was going to have enough to look at. If they haven't patched it by the time you see this, I fixed the constant crashing by putting the graphics to ultra. Thank you, community page, for the save. Thank you for watching all the way through. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night.